Am I the a-hole for wanting dad to walk me down the aisle rather than buy you dad? I'm 24 female am the result of an affair between my mom and her now husband, and my dad discovered the affair when I was 7. He divorced her but kept in contact with me and my brother 26 male, who is my dad's bio son. Mom and dad shared custody, because legally he was still my father, and brother was the only child they both had together, making him my half-sibling. I also have twin sisters, 17 female, my mom had with my bio dad. The fact is, my bio dad always felt like a stepfather, while my dad is the one I had a close bond with, and my brother is the sibling I'm closest to. My dad has never differentiated between my brother and me, took us on many vacations every weekend, and genuinely seemed more keen to maintain a close bond with me. He helped us both through college, and now we both have good jobs in our fields. My bio dad always seemed rather detached, and once when I asked him the reason, he said it was because he had not seen me born like he did my sisters. Now for the situation at hand, I'm getting married in the spring of 2022. I decided that I would have my dad walk me down the aisle and not my bio dad, and also that my brother would be my man of honor. When I told them of my decision, my dad became teary-eyed, and my brother pulled me into a hug. My bio dad got up and left the room. My sisters glared at me and asked me if I was happy after making bio dad upset, and my mom said she was disappointed in me. I told my sisters that they were still in the wedding party, just not as the maid of honor. They said they didn't want to be part of my wedding if their father would be disrespected, and I said I was okay with it. This resulted in a meltdown. My mom and sister started cussing me out, and my brother and dad stepped in and told them to leave, which they did. My fiancé and my brother are close friends, and he respects my dad a lot, so even he got agitated on learning what happened at the meeting. Since then, I have been getting a ton of messages and calls from my bio dad's side of relatives, calling me an a-hole for not choosing my, quote, real family. Mom called me to suggest if both my dad and stepdad walked me down the aisle, and I said no because my dad deserves to have that little moment to himself. She then negotiated that if my dad walked me down the aisle, then bio dad should have the father-daughter dance, to which I also said no. She said I was being stubborn and needed to be open-minded. My bio dad has not contacted me since. My mom said she doesn't know if she, dad, or my sisters would come to the wedding only to see my bio dad disrespected. I'm really confused and exhausted right now. Info: my mom did not have an 8-year-long affair. She cut off contact with him after she found out she was pregnant, and then reconnected years later, which is when my dad found out because she was then pregnant with my twin sisters. My bio dad told my dad that I too was not biologically his, and we had DNA tests done. Now for the top comments. My mom said she doesn't know if she, dad, or my sisters would come to the wedding only to see my bio dad disrespected. I, 24 female, am the result of an affair between my mom and her now husband, and my dad discovered the affair when I was 7. Your mother clearly doesn't know what disrespected mean. Not a-hole. You get to decide who's doing what at your wedding. Bio dad and mom are a-holes. Yeah, cheated on the guy, lied to him about the kid being his for 7 years, and the other guy is the one who was disrespected? Don't forget the parts where he told her he doesn't feel the same towards her because he didn't see her being born, but she's not allowed to honor the man who actually treated her like his child. On top of it, he has 2 other daughters who would sound like they'll be happy to have him do the whole dad-daughter wedding thing. He was happy to let another man raise his kid. He doesn't get to claim the Kodak moments now. So, no one's gonna say it? Okay, I will. He may have been your father, Opie, but he wasn't your daddy. Right choice. Not a-hole. Not a-hole. Your bio dad is not entitled to walk you down the aisle. Neither is your dad. It's your decision whether to have anybody walk you down the aisle, and who. From your story, could you imagine your dad reacting the same way your bio dad is if the situation was reversed? That alone confirms you've made a solid choice. You could possibly have handled it a bit more graciously. Sounds like you announced it to all of them together, when it might have been nicer to tell people in private. But you were under no obligation to do so. Just tell your bio dad you don't feel as close to him, since he didn't see your birth. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother out of my engagement party for what he said about my fiancé? I, male 31, met my now fiancé at the clinic I work in. I'm a dentist. She works a lower paying job at the clinic. She's the sweetest, nicest, most beautiful woman I've ever met. She's smart, humble, and has a beautiful smile. It was a love at first sight for me, and I was lucky that she felt the same way about me. I introduced her to my family after 8 months of dating. She wanted to wait because of her fear that my family wouldn't accept her, but my sister became her best friend instantly. My mom admired her personality and became friends with her mom. My dad and brother kept their distance and made some pretty hurtful comments about how incompatible my fiancé and I were, and how I should keep it moving and look for someone with better background. They never said anything in front of her though. I ignored them completely and tried to protect my fiancé from their snide comments. But because mom and others wanted us to visit, then we didn't have much choice. Last week, we had our engagement party at a restaurant. I didn't want my dad or my brother there, but my mom told me to let my dad and brother come since my fiancé would notice I didn't invite them and ask questions about it. I decided to invite them after mom promised they remain civil and respectful. My family arrived together. My dad remained quiet, then started talking with other guests, so things were going pretty well. When dinner arrived, my brother sat with us at the table asking how much money I lost to make this dinner happen, then how much my fiancé contributed if at all. My fiancé and I were talking about her engagement ring, and my brother randomly started singing "I Ain't Saying She Gold Digger." My fiancé and her mom stared at him and he stopped. I also gave him a look as a warning for him to knock it off. Then I got up from my seat to make a toast, and my brother interrupted me loudly coughing "prenup," and everyone heard him and stared awkwardly. I was livid. I put my drink down and asked him to see me outside. I had an argument with him and told him to leave. He acted dumb about how he behaved, and mom got involved. I demanded he leave, and he did after calling me nuts. And then mom and dad said I shouldn't have kicked him out. Dad left shortly, which made mom say I caused a scene and ruined my own dinner by kicking my brother out. My fiancé was hurt by that, but mom said my brother cried because I kicked him out and wants us to meet to talk. My brother's older than me. He's 37 and divorced. Not today, Hall. How dare they disrespect your fiancé? That is crossing the line. I do believe your dad and brother must talk about their dislike for her a lot, if he had a gall to embarrass you and her at your own party. He deserves to get kicked out, and you shouldn't feel bad about it at all, nor would I even worry about meeting up with them. They didn't disrespect just his fiancé. They disrespected her entire side of the family. Completely unacceptable. Good on Opie for not glossing it over, or should never have known if she could trust him to be her partner. Not today, Hall. He cried? Good. He's acting like a child and thinks crying will get him everything he wants. He wants to call your fiancé a gold digger, while ignoring the fact he's acting like a spoiled, snobby little rich kid. Mom told me that. I believe her because he tends to use emotions to get others to side with him. It's a tactic of his that he uses all the time, and I, as his younger brother, am just expected to respect him. The tactic he's using is called DARVO, Deny, Attack, and Reverse Victim and Offender. He uses it as a way to manipulate others, like your mom, dad, you, to do what he wants, all the while not accepting responsibility for his actions. It's nothing more than a ploy. You may want to research it to find out what you're dealing with and how to deal with it. I'm so sorry you and your fiancé got hurt during all this. You deserve better. My brother is older than me. He's 37 and divorced. Divorced? You don't say. Couldn't for the life of me figure out why. A real gosh darn mystery. Not today, Hall. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my fiancé's sister an idiot for her rude comments about the number of siblings I have? To start, I got 8 other siblings, 9 of us in total. 2 of my brothers are biological, and the rest are foster siblings, but we're all very close. And to me, they're my real family, so I don't really introduce them as anything other than my brothers/sisters. I'm getting married in a few months, and all my brothers are going to be my groomsmen, while sisters were asked by my fiancé to be her bridesmaids. My fiancé's sister Kate is someone we don't talk to much, but still her parents convinced her to let Kate be part of it. Recently, our families meet up for a barbecue at our place, and this is the first time her family meets mine. Well, except her parents since they couldn't make it. I introduced my siblings to everyone. Some point when we were talking to her sister, she says, "Your parents seriously had 9 kids?" She said it with so much disgust, and she seemed really mad about it. I told her yes, and Kate goes about how she thinks my parents were selfish and reckless for never figuring out how to use protection. And don't they know how stupid they are for having so many kids when there's already overpopulation? Part of me found it funny, but also very annoyed for thinking that's something she even thought was okay to say about people she just met. So I told her they were foster parents, and only 2 of my brothers are biologically related. Not that it's any of her business to critique other people's lives. She looked embarrassed and apologized, but then she got mad. Kate says, well, that's something I could have mentioned so to avoid her saying the wrong thing. And I told her, how about next time she just doesn't say anything at all and avoid looking like an idiot? My fiancé laughed a little, but Kate got mad. Then she walked off and made a comment to my fiancé's other sister and cousin about what I said. They know the context, but still think I was an a-hole because Kate was just bringing awareness to what she thought was something bad, and it wasn't necessary to call her names. She doesn't want to talk to me now, and while that doesn't bother me at all, I do wonder, was I an a-hole at all for doing that? Now for the top comments. Kate was just bringing awareness to what she thought was something bad. Who asked her? Your parents don't need her permission. Also, if they were biological, what are you supposed to do? Shove them all back up your mother? Get back in there, Linda. Kate says you don't deserve to be alive. Thank you. I needed a good laugh. Lol. Also, weren't you also just bringing attention to someone you thought was bad? Judging people and disparaging them before having all the details? Why is that any different? Not today, Hall. She should be thankful she just looks like an idiot for her views, rather than seriously offending people because she doesn't agree with the idea of a couple having multiple biological children. Not her life to judge. She was silly to assume something. And when you assume, you only serve to make an A out of you, not me. Not today, Hall. If she didn't have anything nice to say, she shouldn't have said anything at all. Seriously, what was her endgame in bringing something like that up? Honestly, no idea. My fiancé doesn't spend a lot of time with her for certain reasons. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law I will continue celebrating my daughter's birthday every year despite what happened on this day? My husband, 37, passed away a year ago from a car accident when he was on his way to celebrate our daughter's 5th birthday. And it was so sudden and devastating for my daughter especially. I got the news from my pastor, but I didn't interrupt my daughter's birthday and waited till the evening to tell my family. Generally, my relationship with my in-laws is good, and they supported me throughout the hard period in the past months. Days ago was my husband's anniversary as well as my daughter's 6th birthday. Days prior, I brought up my daughter's birthday to ask my in-laws if they wanted to join us to plan something together, since my daughter needed support. They were shocked that I was even thinking about throwing a party, knowing that this is the same day my husband passed away. I told them I'd be taking the morning to celebrate his 1st anniversary, then celebrate my daughter's 6th birthday in the evening. Mother-in-law got mad and warned me about having a birthday party, but I cut the conversation right then. We met at the cemetery at noon. Then I got home at 4 just in time to start the birthday celebration. We had some of her supportive friends, and my parents come and brought handmade gifts for my daughter using pictures of her dad. After the party was over, one of my daughter's friends' mother posted pictures of it on Facebook, and my sister-in-law saw it by coincidence. Sister-in-law and her mother came over later and blew up at me for throwing my daughter a birthday party at her dad's anniversary despite their disapproval. Mother-in-law said I was teaching my daughter to be callous with no sympathy, instead of taking the day to mourn her father's death properly. I argued with them and said that my daughter deserves to have a birthday celebration just like any other normal kid, and sternly said I'll continue to celebrate her birthday every year despite what happened. Mother-in-law said it was highly disrespectful of me, and kept saying I messed up and caused the entire family more hurt on this awful day. I told her to leave, and she said she won't forget this massive display of disrespect I showed her and her family on her son's anniversary till the day she dies. This caused others to call me callous and irrational, and although my brother-in-law sided with me and said my daughter shouldn't suffer on top of her trauma, I felt like I might have been disrespectful to my in-laws. Edit. You know, I've seen a number of people asking what my husband would have wanted. My husband always felt excited whenever our daughter's birthday came. He experienced the loss of a child from his previous relationship, and it affected him at his personality a lot. He always told me that he was blessed to have a daughter in his life and took every chance he got to spend time with her, even though he used to work long shifts and wasn't always able to stay home with us. I have to say, in the couple weeks prior to his death, He stayed with us most of the days and constantly talked about missing us despite being right there with him. He was very emotional in those 2 weeks. Your daughter suffered terribly, so the best thing to do is take away from her another joy that every other kid gets to have. Wow, logic. Not the a-hole. Exactly. And if they did stop celebrating her birthday, the kid would be more likely to grow up with a complex and blame herself and her existence for the death of her father. My dad's mom died on his birthday the year before I was born. He was crushed by it that he never wanted us to even talk about his birthday because it reminded him of his loss. Then when I was 10 or so, he was hurt by no one acknowledging his birthday. Sometime in the last decade, his grief diminished enough that it no longer overshadowed him being celebrated. All the years of not celebrating haunted his perception of how much his loved ones valued him. Not the a-hole. Celebrate her birthday. Your mother-in-law's grief isn't greater than your daughter's worth. You're not the a-hole. In Nigerian culture, celebrations of life are typical for us. We threw a party for my dad on the 2nd year anniversary of his death. He would want you to be happy. The in-laws are just grieving and misplacing their anger. Not the a-hole. Let me say this as a husband and a father. If I should happen to pass away on my daughter's birthday, I would be furious if anyone did anything to take away from her happiness of celebrating her birthday. If anyone wanted to have a remembrance ceremony for me, let them do it a week before or sometime after. But definitely not at the expense of my child's birthday. You did nothing wrong. I'm very sorry for your loss. Hey, thank you for taking from your precious time to respond. I don't know what to say. I'm actually feeling overwhelmed. I had second thoughts about sharing my issues on here, but the amount of support I get? I mean, it's so heartwarming and reassuring. And I know that my husband would have wanted our daughter to be able to celebrate her birthday as it mattered to him a lot. And I have no doubt that he'd want us to celebrate it every year just like we did with him in the past years. I have no doubt in my mind. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make my sister-in-law's wedding cake for free? I, 29, run a bakery business that I've built from the ground up over the past 5 years. It started as a hobby during college, but now it's a registered business with steady clients, a dedicated workspace, and consistent monthly orders. I mostly bake for weddings, birthdays, and other events. I take a lot of pride in what I do. It's not just baking for fun anymore. This is my livelihood. My sister-in-law, 33 female, is getting married at the beginning of June. She's my partner's older sister. We're on friendly terms, but she's always had this vibe like she doesn't really take what I do seriously. She's made comments like, "It must be nice getting to play in the kitchen all day," or "You're lucky people will pay for something they could probably learn on YouTube." Always with a smile, like it's a joke but not really. I've brushed these comments off in the past since they didn't happen all the time, and I just didn't want to stir up any drama. Earlier this month, she asked if I'd make her wedding cake. I said sure and asked what she had in mind. She sent over inspiration pictures of a 4-tier cake with smooth buttercream, floral piping, and real flowers on top, and cascading down one side. She wanted it to be a chocolate sponge with raspberry filling. Plus, she asked that I deliver it to the venue myself on the morning of the wedding, rather than her picking it up the day before. After we discussed everything, I gave her a quote over the phone with a generous family discount. Sister-in-law replied almost instantly that she didn't think I'd be charging her and that the cake would essentially be a wedding gift. I told her that I don't typically do wedding cakes as gifts because of how much time and work they take. But I'd be happy to buy her something from her registry instead, or still make the cake at the discounted price if she wanted. She wasn't happy. She said I was being transactional, and that it's just a cake, and claimed I clearly didn't want to be part of her special day before hanging up on me. To be clear, I have made cakes for free before, but those were small, simple ones for people I care about, or for friends going through a rough time. This isn't that. My sister-in-law and her fiancé can't afford the cake, and it's not like she's ever really respected my work. Meanwhile, sister-in-law has been telling anyone who will listen that I'm making her big day about myself and trying to profit off her happiness. Seriously. My mother-in-law called, and she didn't really ask how I felt or try to understand where I was coming from. She just seemed overwhelmed and kind of desperate to stop this from turning into a bigger family fight. She kept going on about how stressed my sister-in-law was and how she was being a bit much, but basically begged me to reconsider. My partner is completely on my side and has told his mom to stop trying to smooth things over at my expense, but even he admitted he sort of wishes I just said yes to avoid the fallout. Now for the top comments. I'm impressed you didn't send her a YouTube link so she could learn to do it herself. Not the a-hole. I'm petty. That is exactly what I would have done. Not the a-hole. People have no idea how much time, effort, and talent something like this takes. She devalues your work. Stick to your guns. Let her say whatever she wants. The people who agree with her are uninformed, but most people will see that she's being ridiculous, especially if you let them know how much money and time the cake she's asking for would take. If the other guests aren't paying at least that much money on the bride's wedding gift and spending at least that much time on it, they don't have a leg to stand on. Good luck. Not the a-hole. People seriously underestimate the time, skill, and effort that goes into custom work like that. She's not entitled to your talent for free, and anyone siding with her clearly doesn't get it. Stick to your worth. The real ones will understand. Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law is being an entitled cheapskate. If you wouldn't normally gift her something as expensive as a cake, then don't gift her the cake. Tell her to get quotes elsewhere. Next story. Would I be the a-hole for asking my future brother-in-law and his wife to return an expensive gift I gave them after they limit contact with me? I, 35 female, have been with my partner Jamie, 33 male, for over 6 years, and we're getting married this fall. For most of our relationship, I've had a close bond with his brother Matt, 37 male, and Matt's wife, Claire, 39 female. We've shared holidays, dinners, hangouts, and I've always done what I could to support them, especially during hard times. I am the primary source of income. About 2 months ago, I bought a new car and offered them my old one, worth $6,500. It was still in good working condition, and they accepted it, so I fully transferred it over to them. It was a genuine gift, given out of love and support, and I was happy to help because they relied 100% on public transportation. Over the past few years, I also gave small things, like household items, groceries, and things for their kid. All meant kindly and never with any expectations. But now things have shifted. Claire recently initiated a conversation where she said the gifts and emotional support I offered had felt too much, overwhelming, etc., and even went as far as saying she felt I was using them to fulfill my own emotional needs. She said she no longer feels comfortable around me and wants to limit contact, as in don't text them unless they text first, and slow down. This completely blindsided me. I was never given any indication before that she felt this way. One example Claire brought up really confused me. They have a shy cat, Shadow, who hides whenever we visit. We've never seen her in person, and it became a running joke between me and Jamie that she might not actually exist, a reference to the M&M Christmas commercial. He does exist. Claire said she found that joke offensive, like we were mocking a traumatized animal. That felt like a major overreaction to something lighthearted and affectionate. Now here's the part that's really been weighing on me. Claire and Matt have made it clear they don't want any more gifts or support, and that our relationship needs distance. Gifts for their kid are okay, and they're still happy to keep the car I gave them, something that came from a time when our relationship was close, warm, and mutual. To be clear, I haven't asked for the car back, but I've been thinking about sending a message. Not demanding anything, but pointing out the emotional disconnect, that they've rejected ongoing support and suggested past support was not genuine, yet they have no issue keeping such a significant gift, the car. I want to ask them to reflect on what that means. Jamie is supportive of whatever decision I make, but he's worried this might further rupture things with his family. His mom also relies on Matt and Claire for transportation to our wedding, and he's concerned that asking for the car back, or even just bringing it up, might make that more complicated. So, would I be the a-hole for wanting to ask them to reflect on this? Or even possibly asking for the car back? Not the a-hole for feeling upset and confused, but you might potentially be the a-hole if you demand the car back, or try to force a discussion before everyone has had a chance to settle down a bit. If the car was indeed meant as a genuine gift, then no, you shouldn't ask for it back. As you said, it was given during better times in the relationship. Now the dynamic of the relationship has changed per their request, so it would be appropriate to just implement a no-gifts policy with them going forward. I also think it's probably best to leave things where they lie and not ask for further clarification, so this doesn't break down any further before your wedding. Give it some time and see if a discussion between all of you can happen at a later time. And you can also add if it makes them feel more comfortable to return the gifts, then feel free, as you can make use of them elsewhere, if that is what it takes to help restore some resemblance of a sibling relationship. To ask for the car back, you would be the a-hole. It was a gift you gave with pure intentions. Claire is the one with the problem, not you. For Claire to say she's uncomfortable receiving gifts is a bunch of BS. If she's so uncomfortable, then she can say, no thank you. Don't give them another damn thing. And scale back on what you give their children. And even if they change their tune about being uncomfortable, say, oh great, I'm glad you're comfortable. But cut that gravy train completely off. Sheesh, some people. Next story. Am I the a-hole for sticking with my son when my fiancé unfairly punished him? I, 38 male, have a son, 9, and a stepson, 8, from my current fiancé, 32 female. My fiancé tells me all the time that my son is rude and nasty when I'm not there, and acts really bratty when he doesn't get his way, but I always give my son a chance to speak his piece. I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, my son is a really good kid but doesn't play well with others, especially loud kids who love to tease and make fun. My stepson loves to tease him to the point where my son gets angry and takes matters into his own hands. While I've punished him for that, I've also punished his stepbrother for instigating and not respecting boundaries, which I think is fair. However, my fiancé always tries to paint it like my son can dish it but can't take it. I happen to know that he only teases back when he's provoked, mostly because he can't tell if it's an attack or just supposed to be fun. I don't think he really cares which, it just bothers him either way. Last Saturday, the 12th, I came home from work and found my son on punishment. When I asked him why, he broke down and started crying. I saw his stepbrother in the living room playing on the PS5. I asked my fiancé why my son was in his room, and she told me that he was being rude and nasty to all of the kids and adults at an earlier party because he lost a game. I sat him down and asked what happened. He told me that all day, he avoided people he knew would tease him because he knew the adults would find it amusing and do nothing about it. But if he said anything back, my fiancé would be on his case immediately. The whole time she was making sure he didn't have too much of the food he liked, while letting others gorge themselves. And she wouldn't let him play video games while her son and the others played. Then when they roped him into playing a board game and he lost first, he claims they cheated. I don't know if they did or not. He went into another room immediately before they had a chance to tease him for it. He told me he didn't even know if they were going to, but he figured if he avoided and ignored them, they couldn't make fun of him and he wouldn't get in trouble for snapping. He hates that it's okay for others to tease him when he loses, but if he does it, they twist it like he started it. So he pretty much ignored everyone after he lost to hide his disappointment and avoid getting in trouble. After hearing this, I told him to get dressed and took him out to Sonic and Insomnia Cookies to cheer him up. I told him that, despite most people thinking what he did was rude, I thought he did nothing wrong. They were being jerks, and I was extremely proud of him for not reacting the way he has in the past. When we got home, I found my fiancée packing up her things and taking her son to stay with her mom for a while. I asked why, and she told me she couldn't take living with me and my spoiled brat son anymore, especially if I wasn't going to hold him accountable. It's been a week. My son is very happy, but I may have lost my fiancé. Am I the a-hole for sticking with my son? Now for the comments. You're the a-hole for allowing your son to be emotionally abused for this long. Stop treating it like a trivial thing. Do you really think that taking him out is going to magically cure him of the emotional scars your fiancé inflicted? Do you really think that your son will fully trust you again after you allowed this woman and her son to bully him in his own home? Get him a counselor or a therapist. He sure as heck isn't going to be okay after this. Honestly, I've only been engaged for 2 years and I'm barely home. I haven't really seen the signs as she's been really covert with it. I get that I may have been better off removing her and her son out of our lives, but I honestly just wanted things to work out and I wanted to be sure. I have him scheduled for an autism assessment coming up next week. So you have made your son suffer for years because you wanted to make it work? Your poor son needs a father who puts him first, which you clearly haven't. I think it's a good thing for everybody that your fiancé is moving out. I don't know if your fiancé is this horrible step monster or if you're just a lazy parent, but it sounds like this is not a healthy environment for either kids. Honestly, this is just the best answer. It's obvious there's a lot of distrust in this family. If we believe OP's child, then there is systematic abuse going on whenever OP isn't around. He's not allowed to eat enough, play games, or have fun when the fiancé is watching him. His fiancé has convinced OP's whole family that his child is a bad apple. OP doesn't relay what the fiancé said happened, but presumably she claimed everything the child said was a lie. Realistically, it's probably a mix of exaggeration from everyone, and that means something is fundamentally broken in this family that can only be fixed through a lot of hard work and everyone's willingness to participate. I realize OP works 2 jobs, and that the mother of his child passed away 9 years ago. But if he downsized and got rid of the fiancé and her kid, he might be able to work less. Either way, this is an unhealthy environment for his son, and changes need to be made. Last story. Am I the a-hole for canceling our date because she was 15 minutes late? I connected with someone on a dating app, and after a while of texting, we agreed to meet at a restaurant for our first in-person date. To clarify, in my profile, I listed people not being on time as my biggest red flag. In our chat, I talked about how punctuality is a really important virtue to me. When we planned the date, I specifically told her to text me if something came up or if there were any delays. Come the day and time of the date, she wasn't there. I waited and checked my phone, and she hadn't texted me anything. She finally arrived 15 minutes late. She greeted me but didn't even apologize for being late. I asked her why she was late. She shrugged and said that getting ready just took longer than expected. I asked her if, when she was driving, she already knew she wouldn't make it on time. She said yes. I asked her why she didn't text me. She said she didn't because she was only a little late and then started looking visibly annoyed. At that point, I excused myself, said our values don't align, and left her there. She proceeded to shout after me and blew up my phone before I unmatched her when I got home. Am I the a-hole? I just have absolutely zero tolerance for not being on time without a good reason, especially when you don't even communicate properly or aren't even sorry about it. I know my standards are harsh, but I feel like I was very open about it and gave plenty of warnings. Not the a-hole. Normally, I'd say this is an overreaction, but in your case, it's listed on your profile. You had a conversation about lateness before the date, and you explained how you'd like someone to respond if they're running late. And she just ignored that. Honestly, it wouldn't even be the lateness that bothered me, but the lack of respect. I'd add that OP waited for an explanation before making his mind and leaving. To me too, it's an obvious not the a-hole. Yeah, OP even asked what happened and why she didn't text. Just disappearing from the restaurant would have been bad. You don't know if she got crushed under a falling jet engine a la Donnie Darko 2001. But OP stuck it out, despite having explained this boundary. This is what I consider a pretty rare situation, where technically you're not the a-hole in this particular situation, but I'm sorry man, you very much come off like an a-hole generally. I just have absolutely zero tolerance for not being on time without good reason. I have listed people not being on time as my biggest red flag. In our chat, I talked about how punctuality is a really important virtue to me. Fair to say you were explicit in your warnings, and she knew what she was getting into, so she gets to be the a-hole for that night. But I wonder if she dodged a bullet. In this post at least, you sound intolerant and pompous to the point of being insufferable. I wouldn't want someone like you in my life. Hopefully, enough people feel differently that you have some good ones in yours. This OP may not be the a-hole in this specific situation, but his general rigid attitude is that of an a-hole. She dodged a bullet here. Hole for turning my sister away for the second time after she slept with the father of my children while I was with him and then came to me when he cheated and passed on STDs to her. I, 27 female, have 3 children with my now ex-Ken, 29 male. 10 months ago, my sister, 26 female, confessed that she and Ken had slept together the week before. She said she regretted it and needed us to be okay. She told me it was a mistake, that she got caught up in a moment because she had a crush on Ken, and she needed me not to hate her for it, that she loved me and wanted us to make things work. Ken didn't even try to deny it. He told me he'd been sleeping around for years, and that he had slept with my sister more than once. My sister strongly denied that. I broke up with him immediately and told her to get lost. I said I never wanted to see her again, that she disgusted and repulsed me, and I didn't care how bad she felt. I wanted her to feel bad. I wanted her to hurt, and she would never hurt as much as I was hurting then, so forget about me. I got tested after I broke up with Ken to make sure he didn't give me anything with all the cheating. I was negative for all STDs, and I'm incredibly thankful for that. With the amount of cheating he talked about, I'm still surprised I didn't catch anything. She ended up dating Ken because I rejected her, or at least that was the story she told others. She said she felt guilty and needed some good to come from this because clearly I would never give her the time of day again. And that's true. I swore to myself that I would not forgive her. Even through therapy, I have become more secure in the belief that what she did broke our relationship beyond repair. And regardless of whether it was one time, which I don't believe, or a full affair, it was wrong and will never come back from it. I really don't care what happens to her, and if she died tomorrow, I would not grieve or make an appearance at her funeral. Recently, my sister found out Ken had cheated on her, and not only did he cheat, but he also passed along some STDs. I don't know the specifics. I believe she's also waiting to make sure he didn't give her HIV. Although I can't say I paid enough attention to know if that was a big concern or just them being cautious. But she thought that experience would make me more forgiving of her. She was wrong. She showed up at my place, and I shut the door in her face without saying a word. She showed up at our brother's house while I was heading inside, and he shooed her off. But she told me how sorry she was again, how scared she was, and how much she needed me. I ignored her and kept going, and our brother told her she wasn't welcome. She tried again, and this time I did respond. I told her I do not care. And if anything, she deserves everything she got after what she did and how stupid she was in the end. She told me she needed me and that she was scared. I told her, just like when I found out my partner of 8 years and father of my children was cheating, and I could have used my sister, only she betrayed me as well by cheating with him. She said it was one time and that she would have been there for me, and I told her I didn't want her disgusting self to touch me. Because that's how I see her now, a disgusting backstabber. I told her I don't care if he's given her every STD under the sun, because I want nothing more to do with her, and she can die in a hole for all I care. I haven't seen her since. Apparently, she's very distraught, and is also the topic of gossip in our social circles. She lost most of our shared friends, and a few have shared a similar sentiment to mine about her. But a couple have asked me if I don't even feel a little bad for being so cruel to her and turning her away a second time, even after all her apologies. They said they felt like I should have found a way to work through this, Because we were close for such a long time, and sisters are for life, or whatever stupid crap they said. I don't feel guilty. I don't even feel bad for her or have any kind of empathy. Am I the a-hole though? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She was likely banging him for ages. She didn't care enough about you nor your kids not to be one of the many women he cheated with. Karma's a bitch. That's what I think. She still swears it was once, but even once is one time too many. Exactly. One time or 1,000 makes no difference. She's worse than him. He's a POS, but she's supposed to be your sister who you had a close relationship with. Neither I nor my sisters have ever been so caught up that we slept with our sibling's partner, whether he was a dog or not. This is exactly it. I can't imagine crying about loving someone so much while betraying them in that kind of way. Not the a-hole. Forgiveness isn't owed, especially when the betrayal was that deep. Absolutely. Some wounds cut so deep that forgiveness isn't a given. It has to be earned, if it's even possible at all. Protecting your peace doesn't require you to excuse what broke you. That's wild. She slept with your husband and then told you the two of you needed to be okay? Lol. WTF. Not the a-hole. She did. She kept saying she needed us to be okay. She needed me not to hate her, making it all about herself while she was tearing my whole world apart. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my dad meet my newborn daughter even though he's changed? I, 29 female, just had my first child, a baby girl 2 weeks ago. It's been emotional, exhausting, beautiful, all of it. But one decision I made is already causing family drama. I told my dad, 55 male, he won't be meeting her, ever. Here's why. My dad was horrific growing up. He was a textbook narcissist, angry, manipulative, terrifying when things didn't go his way. He never hit me, but he hit walls, smashed plates, and broke doors in front of me and my mom constantly. He'd scream at us like we were enemies, not family. One time when I was 12, he made me stand outside in the rain for an hour because I got a B on a math test. When I cried, he told me to stop being dramatic and start being better. I went no contact when I was 20. It was the best decision I ever made. I've spent nearly a decade in therapy, building boundaries and healing. 2 years ago, he got sober after a health scare. Since then, he's reached out several times, birthday cards, voicemails, even showed up at my old apartment once, always with the same message, I've changed, but never a real apology, just guilt-tripping wrapped in fake warmth. When I announced the birth of my daughter, just a simple Facebook post, he commented, "Can't wait to meet my granddaughter." I ignored it. Then my aunt called and said he was crushed I hadn't reached out. She said, "He's trying. You can't punish someone forever." But here's the thing. I'm not punishing him. I'm protecting my daughter. If I let him in, even a little, what happens when he flips again? Or when he tries to parent me through her? I won't make my child carry the trauma I've spent years trying to unload. Now my aunt and cousins are calling me heartless. One cousin even told me, "If you're so healed, why are you still holding a grudge?" Am I the a-hole? No, not the a-hole. I have fiercely protected my children from my own childhood trauma. It just makes you a better parent than he was. Ignore all the sniping. I would be blocking the a-hole ASAP from all social media and not sharing any photos online that your aunts and cousins can see. Tell him he did 20 years worth of damage to you that still lingers. He can wait 20 years until your child is grown up and can decide for herself, as an adult, who can choose to walk away if he shows any sort of mental instability, anger, bad behavior, etc. He messed up his chance. Now he gets to face the consequences. Sounds like the attempts of a narc who's afraid of what people will say when there is clearly no relationship. You owe him nothing. She's your future. Give her the future he never gave you. If you're so healed, why are you still holding a grudge? OP should respond, "I have managed to heal as much as I have because I have cut that man out of my life. I do not trust him, and I will never trust him enough to risk giving him the chance to hurt me again. I am responsible for the well-being of my baby, and I will never risk exposing her to being traumatized by the man who made my childhood a nightmarish hell. I'm glad that he got sober, and I wish him well in his life, but I don't owe him any chances. There very simply is no bridge back to me for him ever. Next story. Am I the a-hole because I wouldn't put my stepdad on my child's emergency contacts? So, my mother and father broke up when I was around 12. She then got a partner who had zero interest in me. According to my family, my stepdad said he would adopt me, and my mom rightly said no, as he'd only been in my life for a year at most, and we didn't get along during that year. He didn't take it well. My aunties say they think he took it out on me. This aggression got worse as I grew up. He'd do things like lock me out of the house when they didn't let me have a key, so if they forgot to leave one, I'd have no other option but to try and see if any friends could let me stay at theirs. There were many awful things in between. It'd take ages to list. I probably wasn't the easiest child to deal with, admittedly. Skip forward to the present day. I have a baby of my own and have had recent problems regarding my son and my parents. The first was a family wedding we were all invited to. My son is only just 2, and we are a big family who likes to drink. 7 o'clock was the latest I wanted to be there. Then, the day before, my mom told me she'd booked me a hotel room and that if I got a lift down with her, they were getting a taxi to the hotel around midnight. I said she shouldn't have done that without asking me and that I'd already arranged a lift back. Her partner then got on the phone, called me selfish and childish, and said not everything is always about me. I ended up just not going to the wedding. The second time, my mom was looking after my child while I went to night school. She was going to have him until the morning and bring him home. When I got back, I called to check how he'd gone down. He doesn't stay there too often, and they have problems getting him to sleep. They didn't answer the first 2 calls, and then my mom messaged me. It had a load of typos, which isn't normal for her. I rang again, and she was drunk, slurring, and my 2-year-old was still awake in the background. When I asked if she'd been drinking, she started saying I was being stupid and that she couldn't believe me. I walked to their house to get my child, and she called me an unfit mother and threw his clothes at me. Her partner came out and asked me why I overreact so much. I just walked off. Since then, my mom and I are once again trying to repair things. Because I don't drive, I asked her to drop off a form for my baby's nursery that he's due to start. She didn't drop it off and instead took it home and read through it. When she saw that her partner wasn't listed on the emergency contacts, she asked me why and accused me of pushing him out. She then said that if he wasn't on the emergency contacts, she didn't want to be either. I told her I don't trust him after everything that's happened. He's never, not once in my life, ever been there for me in an emergency. He's only ever been a person who's made me feel worthless. I wouldn't call him in an emergency for myself or my child. Why would I put him down? He also doesn't drive, so he wouldn't be of much use. She then said that if that's how I felt, she would cut contact with me. Am I the a-hole? Stop. Take a breath. You do not leave a child with child abusers or people who countenance child abuse. You do not leave a child with people who drink to excess when they're in charge of the child. You do not leave a child with people who call the parent ugly names and emotionally abuse her, and might very well turn around and do the exact same thing to the child. And you do not have an emergency contact who does any of these things. I'm not talking about your stepfather. I'm talking about your mother. Why you didn't cut or severely restrict contact with her after the wedding incident suggests that you absorbed so much punishment and emotional abuse growing up that this seems normal to you. It isn't normal. Your stepfather isn't the only person who's made you feel worthless. Your mother, who has supported him and tolerated what he said and done to you, is equally responsible. Please get yourself to a therapist and do not allow your child to be alone with either one of them. Ever. Forever. Not now. Not in the future. I'm sorry you've suffered so much. Please start getting yourself disentangled from this ugly, destructive family dynamic. And you would be an a-hole if either of these people who treats you so badly were the emergency contact. Absolutely. Agree 100%. She should not expose her child to these people one more time. I hope she takes your advice. Maybe her school can help or point her in the right direction. Last story. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my girlfriend and newborn son by going through SEAL training? I'm male 23, just got through buds to become a SEAL. It was the toughest stretch of my life, physically and mentally, but I pushed through because I believed in what I was doing, for myself and for my future family. My girlfriend, 21, and I had been together for 3 years when she got pregnant. It wasn't planned, but we decided to keep the baby. At the time, I was already locked into the pipeline. I told her from the start that I wouldn't be able to be around for most of the pregnancy or even the birth. She said she understood. Maybe she thought it wouldn't be that hard, or maybe she just wanted to believe it'd be okay. Either way, I went in. I missed the birth. I wasn't there for any of it. The hospital, the first night, nothing. I found out a couple days later during one of the few times I got access to my phone. It hit me hard, but I had to compartmentalize and keep moving. Now that I'm past training and waiting for orders, I've had more time to talk to her, and things aren't good. She's dealing with postpartum depression, overwhelmed, barely sleeping. Every time we talk, she ends up crying. She says she feels like I abandoned her and our son. She tells me she's alone, that I left her to do everything by herself while I went off to chase a dream. I don't blow her off. I stay on the phone as long as I can. I talk her through whatever she needs. I've been sending money and trying to help however I can from a distance, but it never feels like enough. She says I should have stayed, that real men don't leave their families behind. Her dad even told me to my face that I'm selfish, that I wanted a cool title more than being a father. I didn't walk away because I didn't care. I went through hell over the last year to set us up long term. I'm earning steady pay, full health care, housing, benefits, everything I never had growing up. I didn't want to be a part-time dad with nothing to offer. I wanted to be someone my son can look up to, someone who made the hard choices for the right reasons. Do I feel guilty for not being there? Yeah, I think about it every day. But do I regret going through with it? No, I did what I believed was necessary. Even if it's not appreciated right now. Am I the a-hole? No a-hole here. She's essentially going through being a single mother with PPD. She really needs a good support system, and her feelings are valid. You are just trying to make sure your child has a better life than you did. Also, you can't just walk out of the military like an office job. That's the problem with a lot of people who are getting into military relationships. They don't understand we are in a contract, so it's not easy. Even leaving, you want to make sure it's on a good note, but I think his girlfriend needs a doula or set up a good support system when he has his job. But I do know she has to understand this is sadly the norm. I missed some stuff while I was in BCT and AIT. You didn't abandon. This was already locked in before anything to get ready for the future. Yes, she feels abandoned, but I feel like this is something you need to sit down with her and a therapist and talk about it to air it out. Her resentment is real, since she had to do this by herself. Her feelings are valid. She has postpartum depression. Again, her feelings are valid. Remember, this isn't what she was expecting her first pregnancy to be like. Since you're waiting for your next call, do everything you can to make it up to her with the baby. Give her time to herself. Bond with your child. Send her to a spa day. Make her feel loved. Hopefully you all can recover from this, but she did agree to let you go and needed the insurance for the baby as well as your future. And your father-in-law needs to mind his business too. Not the a-hole. His daughter and grandchild is his business. His daughter's hurting and needs help. Being a first-time single parent is incredibly difficult. Is getting mad at OP going to solve that? Obviously not, but he's able to let him know what his 21-year-old daughter is going through. I don't know why OP isn't making sure she has a good support system.